Let's transition, man. Listen, many people believe that America was, in fact, a street paved of gold. Okay, but let's focus here a little bit, man. Like, what does that phrase really mean in the context of your book? Because, listen, brother, I have a lot of different perceptions that I could take, but I want to hear it from you, okay? In the context of your book, what does that phrase really mean?
Benji, you got some great questions. What do? You sit overnight and figure these things out? I just, you really make me think about these questions. The street paved the gold. Well, the street paved the gold could be many different things to many different people, right?
Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. And on the line with us today, we have the impressive Dr. Robert Dattilo. Now, we're discussing his incredible novel, A Street Paved of Gold, an Italian epic. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's a lot of other places. Most importantly, check out his personal website, astreetpavedofgold.org. There you're going to gather more information on Rob, more information on this novel, hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing pages. Man, I'm telling you, it's a one-stop shop. Again, that's astreetpavedofgold.org. And before I go any further, I want to quickly point out the fact that Robert was brought to us by Marl Noble. So for writers out there watching right now, if you need some assistance moving the book you just worked so hard to create, head on over to marlnoblebookreview.com and gather all the ways that their fantastic team is going to help you do just that. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Rob here on the line. Listen, we talk about the American dream like it's a myth, but for our main protagonist that we are going to come to learn about here in this novel, Vincenzo Martinelli, it just flows off the list. I love that name. I had to put it in there. But listen, for him, it was a muddy street in a growing town in New Jersey. Okay, now he landed here with nothing but his family and a chance meeting that rewrote his future. And today we're joined by the author and historian Robert Dattilo as he separates the nostalgia from the reality in his book, A Street Paved of Gold. We're going to talk about the Prohibition era mobsters, the principles that held the family together, and whether the Street of Gold was actually paved with sacrifice. This is going to be such an interesting discussion that we're going to have because it's layered, man. We're talking about not only this novel, fictional, of course, but loosely based on true events, but also talking about the immigration story, the immigrant story. And that's key to all of this. And it's something that is it's perfectly timed with where we currently are. That's all I'm going to say about it right now. Sit back and strap in. Let's get it going. Robert, first and foremost, welcome to the network, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, Benji. Thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to explain my story. Really appreciate it.
Well, listen, Robert, the pleasure is all ours. Man, I really do mean that. Your novel is remarkably compelling. And I know a lot of my listening audience members, man, they can't wait to dive into it, okay? So again, thank you for writing the book. Thank you even more for being here with us to discuss it. Let's jump right in, man. First and foremost, Robert, what inspired you to write your book, A Street Paved with Gold? And what personal or maybe even historical experiences influenced the story?
Well, what inspired me, Benj, is, first of all, my education, right? I went to school for history. I got a BA, an MBA, PhD in history, studied 20th century American history. And everything has a history, right? We can't abolish the fact that everything has a history. So as I attained my education and I started studying 20th century economic history, I saw that there was a symbiotic relationship between government and and crime. You know, and it just drew me search in this. And then I said, you know, I'm getting a little old here. It's time I leave a legacy for my kids and my family. And that's why I wrote the book. You know, I wanted to leave something behind for my family to see when I was dead and gone, and that the ties of how our family developed and the folklore that was behind our family. So that's what drew me into the project.
Well, listen, man, I'm gonna I'm gonna say this quickly because I can't pass up the opportunity, man. Listen, I think there is a deep relationship between government and crime. Oh my goodness. I'm not gonna go any deeper. I'm not gonna go any deeper than that. I'll leave that alone. But it's there. It's there. Okay. Listen, the book is the main focus today, so let's hone it in back on that. Robert, the novel follows an Italian immigrant family that is chasing the American dream, right? Another concept that a lot of people are going to be able to relate to. So let's focus on that a little bit more. Why did you choose to make the immigrant experience the focus of your book?
Because that's the bigger challenge of the book, right? Is the cultural significance of immigration, immigrants coming to this country. Right, that's the bigger focus. That's the grand story of this. Right, that's the rich story. Is the immigration story. Whether it was in 1908 with an Italian family crossing the Atlantic to America, or what's going on today with immigration, it's always about the immigrant coming to the country and looking for their street paved of gold. So that was the bigger significance of this story. It's difficult for the immigrant to survive, right? I mean, the fear, the struggle, the consequences, the traditions, the absence of language, many challenges, many paralyzing challenges. And that's the greater theme of the story, Benj, is the immigrant.
Love that. And listen, I think that it is so representative of America, right? It's interesting, Robert, man, I remember vividly growing up, and the common phrase that it seems like was thrown around constantly was America is a melting pot. It is filled with people from different backgrounds and cultures and importantly, countries, right? And listen, whether we choose to neglect that now or not, it doesn't matter. It's part of our history. It's part of our country. And I love that you chose to focus your novel there.
Well, no, I just want to say that's the bigger tie-in to the story. You know, it's a generational immigrant story, and it's a story of success. Absolutely.
Well, let's dive further into that immigrant family now, okay? Your story begins with Vincenzo Martinelli, which, like I said, it just rolls off the tongue, man. Vincenzo Martinelli. I just love saying it, okay? It's very fun. Well, okay, so Vincenzo, he migrated from Calabria to America, and now I'm curious to know, not only from your story's perspective, but also historically, what challenges did immigrants like him face during that time, Robert?
Oh, tons. Come to the country at that time in 1908. The Italians faced great prejudice, great discrimination, great language barriers. Right? And at that time, Italians were looked at as anarchists. Whoever is on the lowest rung of immigration always gets the most challenges, right? They're the ones that get the labor jobs. They're the ones that start at the bottom of the food chain. And in 1908, when Vincenzo migrated to this country, that's what he faced. They took him and they put him on the Pennsylvania Railroad. in those days, picking up horse manure because horses used to travel along the railroad tracks, and they gave him the worst of the worst jobs. But he came with with the dream of finding his street paved with gold in America, and he worked hard, and he built himself up, and he built his family up, and he had to deal with hope, ambition, consequences, temptation, all these things he had to fight, and that's what drove Vincenzo. He left a country at that time. He left a country that was filled with sickness, disease, unemployment. Mm-hmm. It sounds like today, doesn't it, Benj? It's no different. I mean, he left the country. The only thing in those days was that the immigration was controlled, right? They came through Ellis Island, mm-hmm. and they knew they had a place that they were going to. So the trek to the border today for the immigrant is a little bit more challenging for the immigrant today, right? A little bit more dangerous. At least in those days, the immigrant that came to the country knew where he was going and knew that he had a place to go, and he was going to come into the country. But the challenges were the same, right? Mm-hmm. The discrimination, the prejudice, the ambition, the success, the consequences, all the same.
People, I'm telling you, man, you got to head on over to Amazon, to Barnes & Noble, to his personal website, astreetpavedofgold.org. Man, you got to pick up your copies of this amazing book. It's a historical fiction, but can really be a mirror in a lot of senses, okay? And you're not going to be able to put this one down. I'm really curious to see the conversations that ensue because of it, but it starts with purchasing your copies. Head on over there and grab yours today. Robert, let's transition, man. Listen, many people believe that America was, in fact, a street paved of gold. Okay, but let's focus here a little bit, man. Like, what does that phrase really mean in the context of your book? Because, listen, brother, I have a lot of different perceptions that I could take, but I want to hear it from you, okay? In the context of your book, what does that phrase really mean?
Benji, you got some great questions. What do? You sit all the night and figure these things out? You really make me think about these questions. The street paved the gold. Well, the street paved the gold could be many different things to many different people, right? Mm-hmm. When you say a street paved the gold, it sounds like a materialistic goal, right? Mm. To get that wealth, to find that pot of gold on the other side of the rainbow. Mm-hmm. And that's one aspect of a street paved with gold. But a street paved with gold could be not necessarily materialistic. It could be, that you got peace. You're an immigrant that came to a country that you finally got peace. You got a roof over your head. You got a refrigerator and a TV and an ability to feed your family. Maybe it's coming to your street paved with gold might be you got an education, right? How many immigrants come here just for education? Mm. Your street paved with gold may be a religious pursuit. Some people leave their countries because they can't practice their religion. Mm-hmm. So the street paved of gold is different for everyone, right? It's not just finding that pot of materialistic wealth. It could be a religious satisfaction. It could be an educational satisfaction. It could be a satisfaction of peace. And that's what I wanted to get across with the book. That's what the street of paved with gold. In the protagonist in the book, his street paved with gold was finding material stability, mm-hmm. and at the same time giving his family a peaceful roof over their head and a family that lived in peace. Mm. So street paved with gold could be many things, Benj. That's a very good question. You gonna give me another difficult one?
Well, listen, I don't know if this next one is going to be as difficult, but, just as compelling, I'm sure. Listen, man, this book is deeply personal to you, okay? It's deeply tied to you and your history, okay? We got that. Well, I'm curious, man, do any of the characters in the novel reflect stories from your own family's history?
Oh, I like that one, Benj. I like that question. Well, the whole novel is about characters that I lived with in my neighborhood. You know, in my day when I grew up, everybody lived on the stoop. A little bit different. A little bit different than today. We played stickball in the street. We played curveball. You know, but if I did something bad in the neighborhood, when I got home, my dad knew about it before I even got home. so all the characters in this book are taken from personal experiences. No question about it. I got a character in the book, if I could say. His name was Tony Soft Shoes. Everybody had a nickname in my neighborhood: Johnny Planks, Nicky the Nap. You know, no, you're laughing, but it's true. They called this guy Tony Soft Shoes, Benj, because he got indicted so many times that they couldn't catch him, that he always danced out of the courtroom. So, you know, so the main characters, like Vincenzo is my great-grandfather. Virginia was my grandmother, my nonna. And that's another thing I'd like to mention in the book, that the woman in my book, powerful woman. They were the brains and the drive behind Vincenzo, right? My grandmother came from a background of business. Vincenzo, when he came to this country, he got involved with what they called, in that time they called it the Black Hand. I don't know if you ever heard that. Have you ever heard that phrase, the Black Hand?
No, I have not.
Okay, well, the underworld, the underbelly at the time was called the Black Hand. Now, they were the Italian, you know, hard guys, Italian tough guys. It was called the Black Hand. Vincenzo got involved with them. My grandmother, Virginia, she was a business-minded person, and she dragged them out of that underbelly. So, you know, the answer to your question is, yeah, this whole book is based on characters I grew up with, people I seen, of course. Yeah, that's what makes the book. That's what makes the book so authentic. Also, right, is that I didn't just sit somewhere on a train going to New York and dream these guys up in my head. These were real characters. These are real characters.
Well, listen, Rob, you know, I was laughing because it's something that it's something that I resonate with, man. To me, that's just the staple of a strong community, right? I mean, if you ask me, in a close-knit community, when they know about each other, you'll naturally start to see nicknames sprout, right? So you also said, in terms of growing up in a time where everybody was sitting on the stoop, and another thing that I remember vividly growing up, man, like we'd play kickball or football on the street, and it was always...
That was a big one. Sure. Stickball was big in I used to run around all my neighbors' porches and get the brooms and break them in half, so we had a stick to play stickball. Nobody had any brooms in the neighborhood.
I love it, man. I love it. This is taking me back. I wasn't expecting to go down memory lane like this, man. Transitioning now, Rob. Listen, man, I'm curious, what message or lesson do you hope your readers take from the book once they close that final page, man? Once they finish it, what do you want them taking with them?
Well, that's another good question, Benji. The message that I would like the reader to get out of this book is it's a message of not only immigration, but family, right? Family. Your family has to be strong, right? So you could succeed. You need a strong family. It's a story of hope, you know. Without hope, we would never have had the great inventions and the great advances in medicine that we got in the world. So you got to get the message of hope out of this story. The message of ambition, right? You have to have an ambition. You can't be lazy. You can't take subsidies and lay on your haunches and do nothing. You got to have ambition. You got to go to work. You got to have hard work, right? Come to this country. This country is the greatest country in the world, Benji. And if you come here with ambition and hard work, you could attain the successes that are unexplainable. I mean, I'm a clear example. I'm just a guy who lived on the streets in a neighborhood that never thought that I'd be able to write a book that could possibly maybe, who knows where I could go with this book, right? I worked hard. I worked hard to get this interview. I worked hard to promote this book, and I'm still working hard to promote this book. So that's what I want people to get out of this story of the hard work, ambition, hope, family, and then understand the consequences that you have to deal with in this country, the temptations that come upon you that you have to resist. So you stay on that straight line to success, and your street paved with gold.
Robert, follow-up question, man. What advice would you offer to aspiring writers, right, who are out there listening in right now? People who want to tell their stories, but want to tell their stories about their family's history and their own heritage in a similar way that you did. What would you offer them as advice?
Well, your story might not be a legacy about your family, right? Your story might be something else. Who knows? Everybody has a story. But whatever your story is, you have to feel it. You have to write it. Put it down. Don't doubt your abilities. Don't doubt that your story may not resonate with people. Don't be ashamed. My story happened to be about my family and coming to this country, but everybody's story could be different. So what I say to the aspiring writers is just that. Write. Keep on writing. Just write. Leave time and space and just write and put your story down. For me, it was my family. For me, it was my heritage. For me, it was my legacy. But when you tell your story to the new writer, it's what you leave behind, right? I'm still watching Johnny Carson on YouTube, right? Because he's dead and gone, but it's the story. It's the story. It's still there. So that's what I would tell the young aspiring writer is write, put it down on paper. Don't challenge what you're doing that it's not something that could be accomplished and explained. Just write. Just put your story down and don't be ashamed. Because this is a country with many streets paved with gold. And we could all attain that street paved with gold if you put it down and you work hard to do it. So I hope that message gets across. I hope the book gets across. And it's been a pleasure with you, Benji.
Listen, I'm going to pass that right back to you, Robert. All right, listen, I appreciate the sentiment, man. And listen, Robert, your book is so entertaining, but it's nuanced. And I love that last message that you just gave. And I love it because I think it's more powerful now than ever before. Because listen, we see what's happening around us. And it's interesting, man, like we talk about immigration today as if it's some type of new debate. Your book shows that the hopes and the fears that your main character, I'm going to say it, Vincenzo Martinelli, the hopes and the fears that he faced in the 1900s are exactly the same ones that are playing out in communities across the country right now. And I think that that's such a great reminder. So, okay, so people listen, remember, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble. Most importantly, it's a street paved with gold.org. Head on over there, purchase your copies today. And you have Robert Dattilo to thank for all of it, man. Get started on that journey. And more importantly, get started with conversations with those around you. Because it may just help you change your viewpoint on certain things. Because we're not conversing nearly as much as we should right now. Hopefully this book is the precipice to that, and it brings us back together. That's all I'm going to say on it. You get what I'm talking about here. Robert, listen, man, this has been an absolute pleasure. I really do mean that. Such a delight and really such an entertaining conversation. So keep up the fantastic work. And once again, thank you for being a guest on People of Distinction.
You're very inspirational, Benji. Believe me, I love you like a brother.